Do you want to know what human design is in like a sentence or two? Because too many people are complicating what human design is and what human design is not. And so I'm going to give it to you really straight, really upfront, bottom line. Bottom line, human design is the literal blueprint. It is the architect of what your DNA and your soul wants to express, period. If I made it more practical for the corporate world, because not everyone believes everything is energy, let me give it to you more basic. It is the literal ability to read a chart and understand the gifts that someone has and to see their zone of genius or their greatness and see where there might be a pattern or behavior of weakness or a false identity of self. So the reason this matters for you, regardless of where you're at in the world, is because every single person in this world deserves to know who the hell they are, what gifts they came with, what they can do about it, how to be in harmony with themselves and in harmony with the whole. Because otherwise, a lot of us are creating lives in which do not sustain the sensation of fulfillment. So I want you to walk away with 3 takeaways with human design. When you understand what you're here to do and who you're here to be, life gets really simple. Why would I say that? I remember going through the dark night of the soul, like the darkest times of my life. I will not sugarcoat just how dark some of those events were. What I will tell you is that when I stumbled across human design for the first time, I thought it was bullshit because the person talking to me and delivering it didn't explain it in a way that met my verbiage. It was using words that were so like a different language. We'll keep it at that. And I didn't grab it because it wasn't tangible. So when I found it for the second time, I was in crisis and I said, God, show me who I am. And I am not asking. I'm not asking, I'm demanding. Because until you have had a certain level of pain, you don't really give, quite frankly, a damn to talk sweetly to your obstacles or your opposition. You're kind of like in fight or flight going, I don't understand reality. Am I in psychosis? Maybe. So when I had found human design for the second time, it had changed my entire life. I went from the ashes of destructive death to literal rebirth because for the first time in my life, I could have the validation that I did know, that I could trust, and that I was on the right path. And that came with a level of certainty because here's the beautiful thing about truth and trial and error. Trial and error is really just a playground for how we can experiment and how we can operate inside of a world that doesn't always give us permission to share our spiritual gifts. And I think the world, in my belief system, is catching on to it's not this or that, it's both. So I tell people, you just need to let truth land. You don't need to go chase it. So human design is going to give you the literal keys to unlock what has always been there, but it's not coming from an outside source because a lot of times we want to copy what we see around us because that's the fastest way of learning. Look at little children. They look at what mom does and then they look at what dad does and then they just behave accordingly. So when you understand your human design, what you're really understanding is this is who I am, this is who I'm here to be, and this is how I operate. The truth beneath all of it though, even more badass than all of what I just said, even underneath knowing what your purpose is, I would dare say the best part about human design isn't that it's a modality to put on some pedestal. I think there's a lot of ways it is taught incorrectly, and I'm going to create a whole playlist on how you can actually understand it from my paradigm of truth, my ability to make spiritual, complex ideas really tangible, like really right here. Because if it doesn't change your life and better the material plane, what the actual hell are we doing about it? And that's just my passion, right? Like I got so frustrated watching shit that didn't actually change my material world. And at first I thought maybe I'm just, lustful over my material world. And then I realized, no, every spiritual being deserves to have a really rich and wealthy and prosperous life. That is law. So human design taught me that I'm here to translate. I show up on YouTube, quite frankly, because I know that my gift is to translate what is complex to many people, to distill the very foundation and essence of what people are hungry to know. Because when you can end the hunger, you will have the ability to feel genetically fulfilled from the inside out. And that's what human design has done for me. It took this insatiable hunger to not just know who I am and to know what is possible, but it dared me to live. It dared me to stop fixing myself. And that is my entire brand. I'm Brianna Anderson, as you can see, a speaker and author of the Book of Epiphanies. And it's called Foreplay Through Wordplay, Orgasms for the Mind. Because I think too many of us stopped using our intellectual brain, and too many of us only use our brain to find problems and to find what is wrong and what is missing, but we're not using our intelligence to see what is amazing and badass and so exciting, that we're using our intellectual property incorrectly. So I wrote a book. Go ahead and make sure that you purchase it. The link is always in every single episode. And with that, human design can change your life. And there's 3 takeaways I want you to have right now so you can start your journey. You are going to go to genekeys.com, free profile. When you're on the website, go to free profile and you're going to enter in your information. Then you are going to download the Human Design app. The Human Design app, you can use any of them. I actually prefer using the blue one. It's just a very, very simple blue. Don't overthink it. If the picture is blue, it's the right one. And I use that one because, in my opinion, it shows the entire system, or pretty damn close, because the system is a system. It is not a modality outside of yourself where you are you and then this is like some, esoteric knowledge. No, it's taking principles and identity and quantum physics and the Kabbalah, astrology, in literal, tangible ways to explain how we could better understand ourselves and have a relationship with ourselves that is genuine. Not because we are pumping smoke up and telling ourselves that we're amazing when we actually don't believe it. This will be the very first place that you will find permission and validation. And if you don't think that you need any of those or either of those, I promise that your company does. I promise that your business does. I worked in corporate for over 8 years. And I could not figure out, at the time I didn't have this useful information, I could not figure out why some mechanics of the system just didn't work, right? Like there was just things I saw in place with the structure that weren't actually beneficial to the whole. So human design comes into corporate and says, okay, here is the gift of your CEO. Here is the gift of your CFO. Here is the gift of your Salesforce. And this person who's actually doing your customer service, who should not be doing customer service, but should be doing your financial back end. When you can organize harmony within a whole like that, you are literally at the beginning of a revolution. So I'm Brianna, I'll say it 10 times. This is the revolution of business, and here's why. When you can organize a system based on the authentic truth of the individual, empower the individual, the company will be sustained. And here's what I know. AI cannot overtake a world when the human heart is prioritized first. But in order to get on board with both worlds and not see it as a practical versus a spiritual or it's not an either or consciousness, it's an and consciousness. So when you understand your people at this level, you go, okay, I don't know how to read the system. Cool, I do. I will onboard your people. I will onboard them into Universal Love Academy, which we will talk about in following episodes. But inside of Universal Love Academy, what we're doing is we're deconstructing who the person is not based on the world's conditioning. And then we're getting to the very pinnacle, the top of the mountain, where we go, holy shit, this person now knows they have this gift. So we can move them from being unconscious and unaware to now conscious and aware. And then with that awareness, build the competence to then move forward in the path that the individual will be most delighted in, most fulfilled in, most accomplished. Like, imagine a world where your company is building not just systems around what the rest of the masses are doing, okay? Because it's not hard to take someone's system and then implement it into your own business, okay? If that's where you're going, this won't turn you on. But if you're going into a direction where you don't just want to start the revolution of truth and operate in business that serves the whole, but you really want to get down to the very mechanics of your foundation, the people are where it's at. The people are where it's at. And if you're looking for a trainer, I also do that too. But I'm on a riff because there has been too many times that I've gotten in bed, so to speak, with the wrong business or the wrong partner, because here's the facts. If it doesn't actually help ROI, most people don't care. Like, bottom line, what is the return of investment? Bottom line, show me where the money is. And I'm telling you, as long as you are a leader that overlooks the people that are driving your revenue, that is overlooking the people that is bringing in your massive success, then you're effed, because you'll just be in constant retention with hiring and firing. Because a system that is not built from a place of heart, in my very passionate way of seeing the world, it doesn't last. And it doesn't last because there was nothing real rooting it down. Like, done are the times that we need to operate in urgency, and now are the times where we need to operate based on what is the function of long term. So one of the greatest skills you can have as a leader is to develop the long-term thinking game versus the short-term thinking gain. Okay, I'm going to say that so much slower so that you hear what I said, because it is so potent that most people are operating from the wrong paradigm. And it is a fact when you go and look at quantum physics and you study the realm of human design or any other hermetic principle, when you think from an idea of success, you are playing the long game because you've already given yourself the very thing that most people are chasing. So when you play the long-term game instead of playing the short-term gain, that is the difference between leadership rooted and grounded in sustainability versus the companies that chase the urgency because it's a shiny object over here or there, right? And these principles inside of human design, they don't just build your people, they establish the coherence inside of you as a leader, number one, and the coherence of the mind and the heart of everyone else involved. Why is coherence the number one profitability tool? Because when you are coherent with yourself and you are coherent and in harmony within, everything else has no room for corruption. It's the very basics and fabrication of the life that you're creating internally first. So instead of building a company to go at the speed of light simply because you've been trained that, because it is a scarcity mentality, it's a scarcity and lack programming, we need to look at, okay, what is the fabrication of the soul? What is this person actually here to do? Are we a right fit? When you have agency and you slow down at that level, the idea is so counterintuitive to the ego who's like, F off. But the soul, if we're just really honest and we look in the mirror, if we were just really honest, we can only lead those outside of us at the level that we've led ourselves, right? So when I left the corporate world and I went into entrepreneurship and I found human design, at first it was like judged as the spiritual realm of woo. And then I was able to practically, with tangibility, hand somebody a script, just as similar as a damn cell script. Learn to read the damn script before you cast it out the window. When you can look at a human design chart the same way that you can read a spreadsheet, it changes the masses for two reasons, because now we're talking the very language of another. And true or false, if cells is the most, if cells is the pathway to the most abundant lifestyle because there is no capacity, no limitation, could we not refine that and say that cells, when we boil it down, is the ability to be accountable to our language, to our communication, to our clarity? So can you not agree that by learning how to commune in the language of someone else, that you are actually taking the higher road when it comes to sales, revenue, cash, and clients? To me, they're not separate, they go together. When I can look at a human design chart and go, okay, you have the very gift of entrepreneurship. Do you think that every single person's chart says that? No. So why the hell are we not all entrepreneurs? Because not everybody wants to be, dude. And here's what's really cool. This is why human design eliminates scarcity altogether. Because suddenly you see, oh my gosh, it is not a personal problem. I am not flawed in this department. It's that I'm not designed to even be in that department. Can you tell me the waste of resources we spend daily on trying to be something that we're not, so that we can have something that wasn't really ours, so that we could try to struggle in the process? Now, I'm not talking about not learning another skill. I had so many skills given to me that I am so grateful for. But if you are anything like me, you get to a point where you don't want to see business separate as you see your friendships, as you see your home life, as you see travel. Why would I say that? Because it's my belief that if I am the center of divine operation, if I am coherent with me, then everything else in my life should be just another avenue of more abundance, more expression of that which I am being. Now, if corporate gets behind the very fabrication of human design, it's game over. And I'll tell you why. Because as soon as you encourage an individual to be who they are, to find their zone of genius, and to literally support them based on what their natural mechanics are, when they come to work, it's literally the ability to show up in their natural state. There isn't burnout, there isn't stress, there isn't force, there isn't push, because their natural mechanics on who they are at home is the same mechanics as when they walk through that damn door, because they're being who they are here to be, right? And if you have the awareness that half of your sales force are actually the artists, what are you going to do? You're going to incorporate the sales training to speak the language that moves them at an internal leverage, right? I mean, I can't even tell you the millions and billions of books I've read about how to get the people motivated, how to get them inspired. Dude, I'm telling you, know who the hell they are, understand what makes them tick, and get everything you have behind them to support them in their already there genius. Not a lot of people have the ability to spotlight what is already there. They'll overlook it because they have an agenda, which leaves me to my last point. Human design is going to call out the bullshit of your agendas. It just will. Because when you understand where you've been proving, where you've been showing up to prove something to this world, I'll be honest, no one gives a damn about your process more than you do. Isn't it a fact? Every success and every loss you've ever had, who knows about it more than you do? You, maybe your spouse, if they listen really well. But you get what I'm saying. The human design system is going to expose the bullshit and the hidden agendas, because it will finally illuminate where there has been patterns and behaviors that are not sustainable. You will finally understand why sometimes you're consistent in this area but not consistent in that area. And the coolest part about all of this, oh my gosh, what a goodie, is if you were going to invest all of your time and attention on someone, and you value your time, because I value my time more than anything I value. If I was going to invest into someone, I would want to know who they are, what makes them tick, what I need to do to help them achieve what they want. And then beyond that, I would actually see their human design chart as their personal growth and evolution. So not everyone is going to get turned on by managing resources and following through with willpower. Not everyone is going to be inspired by new ideas and new thoughts. Not everyone is going to have the ability to translate and to communicate and to have the ability to go, go, go. Some of us, like me, need to be able to express our individual power and then find out where that individual power fits inside of the collective. So what do you think I do? I know my damn chart. I don't have to wonder who the hell I am anymore. Now let me ask you this. Do you not want more revenue and money because you want more money? Do you not, that made no sense. Do you not want more revenue and more money because it will give you a sense of more freedom? I just slow down. More freedom. Most people, I don't care if you're in corporate or if you're on the streets or you're in a restaurant, do not care where you're at, maybe you're driving, pause. The very feeling that most humans are after is a sense of freedom. And if we're after a sense of freedom, the fastest way to get there is to cut ties with all shame, all guilt, and all ideas of ourselves that we're somehow flawed because we're not meeting up to someone's standards, and better yet, broken systems. I am a firm believer that the systems that do not work need to come down, and not because the systems in the past haven't worked. It's because it's time to innovate the very systems that we're standing on. And if we can create a system of individual harmony, the individual is what actually builds the system. Without the human, like, where do you find fulfillment? So I'm going to leave it there. Human design, bottom line, it is the literal ability to read a map, to read a blueprint, pick your word. It is the ability to describe what is happening inside of someone at an intellectual, a mental, and emotional process. Imagine looking at someone's chart and going, oh my gosh, like this might be how you operate inside of your mental patterning. This might be how you operate in relationships. This might be how you operate in your physical life. And when you have answers like that, when you have reasons to understand why you do what you do, then and only then do you have the ability to actually choose agency. Because what is unconscious or what is dormant doesn't actually have liberation until it's brought to the surface. Human design is going to bring that fast. It's going to bring it forward really fast. But beyond that, it's going to help the literal achievement at all levels. Bottom line. Cool. So you're going to go to genekeys.com, free profile. You're going to download the Human Design app. And if you are looking for a mentor, a speaker, public speaker, corporate coach, you pick the gig. I have a course called Universal Love Academy where I onboard students and I show up every single week answering questions and answers. There's already a course of over 100 different modules that lay out the entire foundation. So you can go do all your research, or you can let me translate what I know to be the best formula, the real tangible shit that makes the actual needle move, and I'm here for it. So with that being said, I would love to know, if you are not new to human design, what is your type, what is your strategy, and what is your authority? We didn't even get into all that good stuff, but we will. Until next time, guys, see ya.